With the devil, you are at peace with God. So if you're fighting the devil in your home, remember, the devil attacks you, that means you are the friend of God. Okay? The devil, sabi ng mga saints, is taking it easy with you. Okay? He's not harassing you, that means he is your friend. Satan is a murderer. His main goal is not only to kill the body, but to kill the soul. There are certain persons who have been killed by death curses. Even Father Amor, Gabriel Amor, the chief exorcist before of Rome, mentioned his experience of people being killed by death curses. People who are not protected by God. We have also, in my 21 years as an exorcist, experienced people being killed by witches, by Satanists, through sending evil spirits or what we call curses. And itong mga tao na to ay walang protection. Walang kumakalinga sa kanila. And therefore they were hit. And instead of turning to the Lord, they turned to the occult, more idolatrous practices. And therefore natuluyan sila and they lost their lives. Some of the images of the devil is he is a dragon. I mean, talaga, he is not a meek being. He is really someone who will try to take revenge. That's why in the ministry of exorcism, we always pray for protection after we do an exorcism. Because the devil will not simply sit there and say, okay, talo na ako. Gaganti at gagantiyan. He is the most hostile, proud being you will ever encounter. He is also called a serpent. That means napakagaling niya. He is very shrewd. Madaling siyang mandoko ng tao to make something good seem as though it is evil, or to make something evil seem that it is good. And we see that today, nakikita natin sa mundo natin ngayon. So many people are going after things that are actually evil, and they defend it saying that ito yung mga bagay na makakapagbigay sa atin ng kasiyahan. They are good for us. He is also a lion because he hunts for souls. The ordinary assaults of the devil is seen in his audacity to thank God himself in Jesus. Nothing is more victorious, therefore, than overcoming the temptations of the devil. The first rule of spiritual warfare is this: to remember that the main goal of the devil is not to attack the body, but to attack the soul. Because if he is able to take your soul, then you are his forever. Okay? His main focus is always, in the end, yung kaluluwa ng tao. If he can get your soul by giving you a lot of good things, possessions, wealth, whatever, then that is what he will give you. If he can get your soul by making you lose hope in God, by making you fall into depression, making you see that God is not a merciful and compassionate God, by harassing you with harassments, oppression, obsession, and possession, then that is what He will do. Depende sa titingnan niya bawat isa sa atin, what will make us give up our soul. Therefore, the struggle against the devil is primarily in the struggle against sin, against temptations. Sin is a devil's seal and a sign of dominion because there is no middle ground. If we live and die in sin, we end up always with the devil. That's why St. John, sinasabi niyan, for 1 John, sabi niya, if you sin, you're a child of the devil. Why? Because if you are not in the kingdom of heaven, automatically you will be in the kingdom of Satan. There is no middle kingdom. There are only two kingdoms. You either end up in one or the other. God permits demonic temptations so that it should become manifest to you what dwells deeply in your heart. It is also here that grace becomes merit and one is confirmed in the good. Okay. Yes. Now, baptism, by imparting the light of grace Christ's grace erases original sin and turns a man back towards God. But the consequences of for nature, wicked, inclined to evil, persist in man and summon him to spiritual battle. The mere fact that we are baptized automatically means that we enter, sabi ng ating catechism, we enter into a battle already. Okay? Because we will have, in a sense, to overcome our self, yung ating laman, yung ating concupiscence, the attacks of the devil and the spirit of the world. Okay? We are not against the world, we are against the spirit of the world. That means the values that the world is accepted from Satan. So now, how does the devil attack us? Okay? Now, ordinarily, inisip natin through temptation only. Okay? But there are more ways by which the devil attacks us. And they are more what we call extraordinary. Okay? That means that they are beyond the normal experience ng tao. Although now, it is becoming more and more common that these types of extraordinary attacks are occurring. Okay? So we call these types of extraordinary attacks, there are different types. And we have 4 types: obsession, oppression, possession, and infestation. I will just go briefly and then I will give some examples para more or less mas maging malinaw po sa atin. Remember that man has what we call material faculties in him. These material faculties are what we share with the animals. Yung mga hayop, meron din silang gantong mga katangian. They have emotions, we have emotions. They have an imagination, we have an imagination. They have memory, we have also memory. Now these areas, itong mga faculties na ito, because they are material faculties that we share with the animals, ibig sabihin the devil has a power over them. Anything that is material, the devil has a power over. Bakit? Because he is a pure spirit. But yung mga spiritual dimensions or faculties ng isang tao, wala siyang kapangyarihan doon. For example, what are our spiritual faculties that we share with the angels and with God? We have a will, yung ating kalooban, and we have our intelligence, yung ating utak, yung ating isip. So the devil has no access towards our will and intelligence. That is why the devil cannot know what you are thinking of. Hindi niya alam yung iniisip natin. Okay? The only way by which they will know what I am thinking is if I will direct my thoughts to him. Just like my guardian angel does not know what I'm thinking of. Only God can read the heart. So if I am praying to my guardian angel, he hears me precisely because I am directing my prayers towards him. Kaya halimbawa, I have a case that I think is possessed, I can simply test kapag talagang possessed yung tao by simply commanding the spirit using only my mind. I will command the spirit to manifest himself. In nomine Jesu Christi, manifestate. And I'm only using my mind. Biglang magwawala yung tao. The person becomes violent. So that is a sign that there is a spirit in the person. There is a diabolical spirit in the person who is able to read my mind because I'm sending my thoughts towards him. The will is also a faculty that the devil cannot touch. The devil cannot force us to sin. He can only tempt us. Kaya yung mga possessed na tao, yung mga inaalihan ng masamang espiritu, sila ay tulog. They are not conscious. But the devil has power over our emotions. He can trigger our emotions. I have so many cases wherein pag I meet these people and try to interview them, the demon, if there's a demon attached, starts to manipulate the emotions until hindi nila maintindihan bakit galit na galit sila sa akin. Father, I feel so much anger towards you. I can't understand where did this come from. The devil can also know what I'm imagining. So for example, I'm in front of you, but I'm imagining chicken joy, halimbawa. Na gutom ako, parang gusto kumain ng chicken. And I'm imagining it, then the devil sees that. That's why he knows our weaknesses. Because he can see what we are imagining. Not what I'm thinking, iba yung imagination when I put an image there at iba yung iniisip ko. When I'm thinking of something, it is not an image, it is a thought. Also, the memory can be tampered by the devil, can be touched by the devil. That is why certain people, lagi nila naalala yung kanilang mga traumas, yung mga panahon na sila ay nasaktan. And little by little, the devil is bringing up these memories in order to make the person fall into either depression or fall into the state of anger and until it becomes hatred. He will always trigger those negative memories so that you will little by little not only become angry, but you will also be a person filled with hate. Or if it's a negative memory, some that really put you down, the devil will make you remember them, these memories, so that you will fall into depression and even suicidal tendencies or actions. So when the devil attacks us, the first, extraordinarily, kapag we open ourselves up to the devil, the first step in attacking us extraordinarily is what we call obsession. He attacks us internally. Some examples, napakalakas na mga tukso. These are signs that it is diabolical. Parang hindi normal yung tukso, napakatindi. And even though you pray, parang you feel that you're about to fall. So here it is important to learn to use the sacramentals and prayers of deliverance. Because you're dealing not simply with a ordinary temptation, you're dealing with a diabolical temptation. The devil can make you see apparitions that are diabolical, especially mga bata who are quite sensitive to the spirit world. The devil can appear as a duende, an imaginary friend, or as a diabolical figure, like a dark shadow. The devil, when he attacks us through obsession, can also attack us with strong suicidal thoughts and impulses. Okay, so we have many cases of persons who were suicidal, then when they renounce these suicidal thoughts and they exercise the demon of suicide, then nawala yung itong mga plano nila, yung kanilang mga iniisip na iba't ibang paraan to kill themselves. Of course, they still have to be counseled because the issue is still there. But the option to kill themselves is removed. Strong sexual thoughts and impulses that can last a very long time. Blasphemous voices. Father, when I started playing Spirit of the Glass, biglang ang dami ko nang naririnig ng mga boses ang minumurang ating mahal na ina o si Jesus. Diabolical paranoia. Okay, that means they start to feel that the devil, they sense the demon are always, the demonic presence, always, or many times a day. Sudden doubts regarding the faith, aversion towards the sacred, and dryness in prayer and spiritual desolation. So this can be caused by a diabolical spirit. Intrusive negative thoughts, images, memories, and feelings. So I already mentioned this a while ago. The devil can give these things, place them into your faculties. Oppression, halimbawa, the person does not change his life or seek help from the church, then lumalala ang atake ng demonyo. Then it moves to oppression. It becomes more physical. Gigising yung tao, marami siya mga kalmot sa katawan niya, for example. Or he feels so many bodily pains in the body, and the doctors cannot find any reason why. There's a deterioration or non-diagnosis of sicknesses, or the person always feels drained. We have experienced many times this type of attack with people who were cursed. Either kinulam sila o binarang sila. And they were not protected. They were not in the state of grace. Night terrors, that means talagang hindi ordinary nightmare, talagang grabe yung atake sa gabi. When they open their eyes, di sila makagalaw. They are paralyzed and there's an intense fear. Sometimes they even see the spirit on top of them. Okay? It can attack them sexually. We call that an incubus attack kapag babae yung inatake, and a succubus attack kapag lalaki ang inatake. They can also cause divisions and deterioration of relationships. Yung mga tinatawag nating love potions. There are certain spells that cause division, that will cause division between husband and wife, between family members. Tinatawag nating gayuma. Drop and failure in business through curses. Unusual and great sicknesses and sufferings, di na normal, napakaraming sakit, di na normal. That means that can be a sign of the diabolical. Series of bad luck and freak accidents, palaging na aksidente, parang malas ang buhay niya. There is no such thing as good luck and bad luck. There's no such thing as karma. Everything is under divine providence. Kaya walang taong swerte, walang taong malas. Okay? Because everything is under the providence and control of God. There is no such thing as coincidence or chance, actually. Okay? That's why I don't believe na ikaw swerte o yan, malas na tao niya. If the person feels that he is malas, actually is under diabolical attack. Okay? And sad thing, if you say that, uy, ang swerte ko, you never thank the Lord for the blessings that you're receiving. You think it is given by the universe. Natsampahan ka lang. And that is something that is not right. That is a great injustice that our God gives us everything that we need. Even the smallest thing that we need, He gives it to us. If it will help us. Physical and sexual attacks during waking hours. Possession, of course, is the full takeover of the body and its senses. Inaalihan, sinasapian, sinasaniban, at yung tao wala siyang maalala kapag siya'y gumising na. We call that possession. I won't go so much into this. Now, infestation is when extraordinary demonic activity is centered unang-una sa isang hayop, isang bagay, an object, like an anting-anting or an agimat, or a place, isang bahay na maraming mga paranormal na nangyayari. We call that a haunted house. Okay? So, this is what we call infestation. I have exorcised also animals. I have exorcised objects that are cold and infested. I have exorcised places. So this is what we call infestation kapag yung demonyo ay nakakapit sa isang material na bagay. Or hindi tao ang kinakapitan niya. Okay, if you notice, my dear brothers and sisters, most of our cases are in the realm of oppression. 15% of our cases that we have encountered is possession. 21% infestation, 9% obsession. So the most cases will be cases of oppression. According to Father Jordan Oman, isang natatanging, very spiritual author, he said, with God's permission, the devil can do the following. That's why we should not immediately believe that something miraculous is happening just because something occurs that is beyond the normal. Because the devil, sabi ni Father Jordan Oman, can produce imaginative visions. That means can create false apparitions. He can instantaneously cure sicknesses that have been caused by diabolical influence. So pag kinulam ka, halimbawa, pumunta ka sa isang albularyo, pwede kang gumaling. The problem is, there will be a more powerful spirit now na nakakapit sa'yo. Because the devil, sabi nga, Jesus said, Beelzebul cannot expel Beelzebul. So if I go from one occult practitioner to another occult practitioner, there is no expulsion. Demons will only be expelled with the name of Jesus, with the power of God. Ang nangyayari dyan ay tinatabunan lamang ng original na espiritu na gumagambala sa iyo ng isang mas malakas na espiritu para parang nawala na yung original na espiritu. But actually, it's still there. But what is now manifesting is the more powerful spirit from the spiritista or the albularyo. So, ibig sabihin ng albularyo, oy, medyo malakas yung espiritu na yan, hindi ko kaya yan. Pumunta ka mas malakas na, may kilala kong mas malakas na albularyo. because they are not using the power of God. An exorcist will never say, I can't handle that. Right? Even though it is Satan himself possessing the person, the exorcist will be able to expel that being, precisely because it is not the exorcist who expels, it is Christ, God himself, who expels. Produce the stigmata and all other kinds of bodily extraordinary phenomena. Simulate miracles and the phenomena of levitation. You can see that sometimes in exorcisms, yung nag-levitate yung katawan ng possessed. Bilocation and compenetration of bodies. He can cause persons and objects to disappear from sight, right? Or simulate elocution. Suddenly, Father, I've been hearing the Blessed Virgin Mary talking to me, so he can do that. He can make you think that you are hearing the voice of Our Lady. But actually, it is not. Or the voice of Jesus Christ, but actually it is not. Okay? That's why the church is very careful when it discerns extraordinary phenomena, apparitions, visions, locutions. When I say locutions, ibig sabihin it is a voice that a person is receiving. Okay? Apparition means I see something outside of me, nakikita ko. Now, spiritual warfare, my dear brothers and sisters, from the very beginning of the Bible to its end, the devil is the enemy of salvation history. From Genesis to Revelation, he will always be our enemy. We are not, each of us here, all human beings should never fight each other because the only enemy is the evil one. Our only enemies are the fallen angels. Okay? After Christ ascended into heaven, the church now became the number one enemy to fight because she is the prolongation of Christ. Why do you think, my dear brothers and sisters, wala yung mga tinatawag natin sacrilegious rites? Okay? Yung mga Satanists, marami silang mga sacrilegious rites. But you don't find any of these sacrilegious rites against other religions. You only find the Black Mass. We only hear about sacrilegious desecrations of the Blessed Sacrament. It's because the devil knows that it is in the Catholic Church where Christ really resides, truly and really resides. That is why with Christ ascending to heaven and going back to the Father, the church becomes the number one enemy of the devil. Because whenever he sees isang Katoliko, imagine nakikita niya yung si Jesus. He sees Christ in us. After baptism, Christ dwells in us. We have that imprint, permanent imprint in our being. And the devil always sees that. That's why sabi ni Saint Teresa of Calcutta, the devil tempts us. His aim is death. Para patayin ang ating kaluluwa. Not so much you or I, para sa kanya, we are lesser beings. Wala siyang pakialam talaga sa atin. We are nothing in the eyes of the devil because he believes that he is superior because of his pride. It is about God or a hatred of God, kaya inaatake tayo. We have to remember that the only way that the devil can take his revenge against God is by destroying what he loves most. The soul of a human being. And therefore, if the devil knows that God infinitely loves each soul, and he can hurt God infinitely if he destroys even one soul. And that is why the devil attacks us. Kaya tayo ay inatake ng demonyo. Okay? That is his reason. Now, the secret given by Our Lady of Lazaret of Melanie, in the year 1864, Lucifer with a large number of demons will be unloosed from hell. Okay, so that's more or less our centuries. Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich, the greatest visionary of the church, beatified by St. John Paul II, tells us, God himself had decreed this, and I was likewise told that the devil will be unchained 50 or 60 years before the year of Christ 2000. A certain number of demons are to be let loose much earlier than Lucifer. That's why there is so many, we may say, exorcists now being invited by the bishops or priests invited to become exorcists. Now, even Rome has asked that each bishop send the names of their exorcists because of there is now an, we say, dumadami mga kaso ngayon of persons experiencing diabolical harassments. Kaya sabi ni St. John Bosco, he said that some of the most serious trials in the long history of the church would occur in the 20th and it will become worse in the 21st century. And compared to what would still happen in the 21st century, all the suffering that had already occurred in the history of the church would be almost insignificant. That's why we have to be prepared. Something is coming and you have to be prepared. I'm sure sa social media pa lang nakikita nyo, no? That we are reaching a certain peak of evilness and sinfulness. That God's justice is about to be let loose for the sake of the future generations. Because we ourselves cannot anymore change itong mga, we may say, subcultures that are becoming more and more prevalent in our society. And meron siyang panaginip, and he saw this. According to him, the two means by which the church will be saved, devotion to Jesus in the most blessed sacrament, and the devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary. That is why the number one tactic of all false religions at mga kulto is to make sure that a Catholic is removed from the Mass. If they want to remove a Catholic and make him a heretic, the first thing they do is they bring him to a fellowship. Kasi mas masaya doon. Their main objective is to remove the Mass from the person's life. Because it is in the Mass where we receive the body and blood of Christ. At sabi ni Jesus, unless you eat and drink, you will not have eternal life. And sadly, some Catholics, because they see the Mass more like yung kanilang batayan sa misa ay its entertainment value, agad-agad sila ay nadadala doon sa mga false religions na ito or makulto. And secondly, once you join these false religions or cults, what is the first thing that you have to give up? Devotion to Mama Mary. They will immediately start to attack Our Lady. That is a sign always of the diabolical. The sign of the diabolical. So the first challenge of spiritual warfare is to unmask the demonic, to be able to become aware kung saan siya. Where is he? Because he is acting in our lives, but we are not aware of it. It's like you have stage 4 cancer. And you don't understand, saan nagagaling itong, parang hina na ako, parang I always feel sickly, but you don't know you have stage 4 cancer. It's just, so you don't know how to respond to this sickness. Two reasons why the devil will always try to remain hidden. First, that a person either will blame God for his sufferings, or if he is of little faith, he ceases to believe in a loving God. If you don't believe in the devil, then when he attacks you, you will always blame God. Then God will be, for you, not a compassionate and loving God. You will doubt his love and compassion. It's because you don't believe in the devil. So it's like may terorista ka sa loob ng tahanan ninyo, tapos inaatake ka, okay? Every night, okay, binubugbog ka, but you don't believe that there's a terrorist, so you tell your spouse, bakit binubugbog mo ako habang tulog ako? Okay? Okay, because you don't believe that there's a terrorist in the house. And second, a person is better conquered when he does not know that he is under attack. Almost all our cases, of course, especially those who get possessed, they usually they leave the protection of God. And they are not aware that when they leave the protection of God, there is a being made nilalang dyan sa ating paligid na hindi natin nakikita na napakalakas, and he will fill in the vacuum that God has left. That means if I'm not protected by God, there is a being out there who is more powerful than me who will enter into my life automatically yan. When we leave God, Satan always enters the picture. Always, 100% yan. He is like isang pating nakakaamoy ng dugo. That's why when the young people leave the faith, the first thing that happens is that you will see a change in their behavior. Satan already starts to work on them. Even though they say they're atheists, actually, if you look at their lives, they're living lives that are found, okay, in the kingdom of Satan. Because the devil starts to work on them. Because God is not anymore protecting them. Because the Lord respects yung ating kalayaan. He will not force Himself on us. Kapag ayaw ng isang tao sa Kanya, he will back away. And His protection goes with him. Although, of course, God still protects him in some way, but the Lord will little by little allow the person to make him see and make him feel what it is to be without Him. Little by little, his life, yung taong ito, unti-unti magkakaroon ng pagbabago. And later on, little by little, you will see that little by little, his moral life, his spiritual life, his relational life, his mental life, biglang unti-unti nawawasak. It is getting destroyed. And the second challenge of spiritual warfare is expelling the demonic in our lives. The four openings that I always discuss this para maging malinaw po sa atin, ano yung mga iba't ibang mga pintuan na binubuksan natin sa ating buhay, kaya nakakapasok ang demonyo and kaya niyang umatake sa atin sa paraan na talagang malubha. Of course, the first is sin. Halimbawa, isang taong makasalanan. If, for example, the person starts to sin, of course, the demons start to attach to him. And if he continues to sin, day in and day out, the demons start to become more and more in number who are attached to him. Kumakapit yan mga demonyo. That's why when we exorcise someone, we're not simply exorcising one demon, we're exorcising many, many demons, legion. But they have meron isang pinuno always. That is why we extract the name of the leader. Once we are able to get the name of the leader, then we expel the leader, sunod-sunod yung kanyang mga kasama. But if you notice, habang dumadami ang mga spirito na nakakapit sa isang tao, maybe by the time he reaches 60%, doon na napupunta yung obsession. Then 80% oppression, 100% napopossess na yung tao. Okay, the sad thing I had in my life as an exorcist, I've exorcised already 2 possessed priests. And one of these priests, he was living a sinful lifestyle. Outwardly, mukhang banal siya, but inwardly, he had this big, dark secret. And within 10 years, he got possessed. I never thought that I would be exorcising a priest, but that is the reality. He lived a very sinful lifestyle that the demons had enough power to take over him. His body. His body. So sin, he who commits sin is the devil, sabi nga natin kanina. Every sin causes more disorder sa ating laman. The more disorder we have in our concupiscence, in our body, the more the demons have more power over us. And every sin attracts more and more spirits just as we see it in infested homes. Bakit halimbawa yung isang tahanan o isang bahay ay nagiging haunted? Dahil napakaraming mga kasalanan na ginagawa doon sa bahay iyan. So within a certain period of time, later on the house becomes haunted. So ganoon rin yung tao. Every time you sin, spirits tend to attach to us. Okay? Every time we sin, and we don't go to confession, and we don't use the sacramentals, the spirits build up in number. Every sin allows demons to attach to the different faculties of man, and even though we confess, the spirits would tend still to remain. That's why we have to know how to pray prayers of deliverance, or what we call prayers of spiritual liberation. Because confession removes the diabolical bandage in the soul, sa ating kaluluwa, but kung ikaw ay napakatagal ka sa kasalanan, demons have attached to your body. Like, Father, nung na-confess ako, ang dami ko ng sakit, etc. Because the demons have attached to your body. So doon papasok yung the sacramental of exorcism, deliverance prayers, the use of the sacramentals. Because it delivers the body from the bondage of the devil. So the sacrament, because the sacramental of exorcism is connected with the sacrament of confession. A sacramental is always connected to a sacrament. Kaya nga, we call them mini sacraments. So after confession, to make sure that there are no more spirits attached to you, also in your body, in your emotions, etc., then use sacramentals and prayers of liberation. Halimbawa, sa isang tahanan, may matinding away sa loob ng bahay, immediately after, use holy water because if not, demons could have already been attracted. And the next fight, yung sunod na away, mas malala na yan. In my practice, kung for example, 1 year, gumagaling yung taong may mental illness, ngayon parang 4 months lang, gumagaling na sila. So you see that we are not simply a body. Okay? We also have a soul and a spirit. Sabi St. Alphonsus de Liguori, that the greater number of the damned enter hell on account of sexual sins. Our Lady of Fatima, itong sinabi rin niya, more souls go to hell because of sins of the flesh than for any other reason. Sabi ni Sister Lucia, it is not because sins against chastity are the most grievous sins, but because they are ones most people will not give up. And the devil today is making our culture highly sexualized. Because this is how he catches many, many souls. Children as young as 5, there has been a study that 20% of children, at least in the United States, but of course we're very westernized na rin dito sa Pilipinas, that 20% of young children age 8 years old have already seen sex with animals and torture. 20%. Imagine mo yung mga kabataan ngayon, elementary pa lang, they have more knowledge of sex than at least during, I'm 56 years old already, no? So at least during my time, no? What they know is even more than what I knew in college. So you can imagine, no? How many souls are being captured by the evil one because of this sin. St. John Paul II therefore challenges parents. Sex education is a basic right and duty of parents. Huwag nyo, okay? Make sure that the social media is the one that teaches your child sexual education. Because kapag hindi kayo unahan kayo. And once they have that concept already, remember, the first imprint becomes our standard of looking at the next thing that we see. So if ito yung unang natutunan nila, whatever you tell them will always be filtered based on what they learned from the social media. So sabi ni Origen, one of the early church fathers, sabi niya, every one of the 7 capital sins with all its derivations is governed by a particular evil spirit. The more an evil habit is hardened to the practice of evil, the more that the demon corresponding to the evil possesses us. So what can be done? Of course, confession, the most important thing. Make sure that your soul is not under the bondage of the devil. Don't wait for 1 month, nagkasala ka mortally, immediately go to confession. Maximize the opportunity to go to confession. We have so many, we may say, in my ministry of exorcism, we have so many cases that the demons will not leave, or almost all our cases, unless the person has confessed his sin or her sin. Because the devil has a right over the person who is in sin. Pero sasabihin niya, may karapatan ako sa tao yan. He has chosen me. You have no right to expel him from that person. That's why do you think Jesus did not exorcise Judas when he was possessed? His own apostle, ang kanyang apostoles mismo, he did not exorcise. It's because Judas already had made this choice. He had made this choice for Satan. Of course, prayers of liberation, especially against the spirits of one's particular vices. So, Lord, in the name of Jesus, I ask you, I command you, fallen angel of pride, for example, to depart from me. If you see that you have a weakness, yung kahinaan nyo ay, for example, sa kayabangan, whatever, or another sin, then you name that vice because there's a spirit that is attached to the vice. Demons have their own specialties. Don't forget to use the sacramentals. Then grow in the virtues that will combat this vice. If you are a person who is always angry, then try to develop the virtue of meekness and patience. And later on, yung mga spirito ay aalis, usang aalis yan. The second opening is occult. Yung tinatawag nating third eye. Maraming mga tao call it a gift. It is not. 7 out of 10 of our cases have an open psychic ability or open third eye. An active psychic ability. Opening the occult third eye makes one psychically vulnerable to the world of the demons, not to the supernatural world of God. Only grace can open us to God, not opening your third eye. So sabi ni Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich, when one becomes a psychic, pinabuksan mo yung third eye mo, then one of man's faculties possessed before the fall is resuscitated, and the person lies helpless, exposed to the attacks of the evil one. Magbukas yung third eye mo to the devil has an easier access to your internal faculties. The more easier will he be able to put yung mga images doon, or suicidal thoughts, or manipulate your emotions, or trigger your memories, or put you into a hypnotic trance state or possessed state. No, continued entering into the trance states, especially nakikita po natin to sa New Age movement. It is from the West, na dumadating sa ating bansa. Whether through Eastern forms of meditation, hypnosis, hallucinogenic drugs, yung age mind expanding seminars, occult initiation, makes one more psychic and vulnerable to the preternatural world. Times that we are most psychic, kailan tayo medyo bukas yung third eye natin? Or our psychic abilities are active. Pagtulog tayo. That's why in monasteries, they use holy water always before they sleep. The blessing all the cubicles. Not because they can be tempted kapag tulog kayo, hindi ka pwedeng tuksin ng demonyo, but they can be harassed in their sleep. So when we're asleep, usually kaya nga yung mga tao kahit hindi masyadong psychic, pwedeng mabubuti, no? Atakin ng demonyo. Okay? How do you know that it's a diabolical attack? First and foremost, it's very vivid and lucid. Okay? There is intense fear. And the next day, kahit gumising ka na, you can still sense that negative emotion of fear and maybe even depression. That means hindi galing yan sa unconscious mo. It's a diabolical attack. Kapag malapit na tayo mamatay, usually our body weakens, become more psychic. Kaya yung mga taong malapit ng mamatay, marami na silang nakikita na di nakikita ng yung normal person. And therefore, it's very important to use the sacramentals around that person. Because the devil will try to appear to him to make him afraid and lose confidence in the Lord. Yung mga bata, since they are more right brain, their right brain is more developed than their left brain, they are very creative. Usually bukas pa yung kanilang third eye. Madali silang makakita ng mga multo o mga magkaroon ng imaginary friends because they can easily see them. And the spirits knowing that they can be seen, papakita yan bilang isang engkanto o imaginary friend, parang bata, pero hindi talaga real boy or girl. What can be done? Okay, renouncement of this power and the spirits. Usually, if you've always been going to occult practitioners, bubukas yung third eye mo. More or less automatic yun. Confession, okay, because seeking power from outside a religion is idolatry. Closing the occult third eye, there are prayers that will close the occult third eye. Consecration of the faculties to God so that the devil cannot use it as a channel to attack you. Exorcisms and prayers of liberation to keep the demons away from you. And of course, the use of sacramentals. So very important, Mama Mera, kung medyo sensitive kayo, Mama Mera, I offer you this faculty. And I ask you to seal it so the devil will not make use of it in order to harass me. Because these are people who can sense easily spirits, pumasok pa sila sa isang lugar na may mga spirito, tumakas yung balahibo nila, o may nakikita nila, no? To the side of their eyes, movements of the spirits. The third opening is trauma. Those who have been traumatized again and again, sexually, emotionally, physically, but especially sexually. Abuse attracts demonic spirits. And emotionally, the person starts to have hatred, fear, depression, and unforgiveness. And this is some of the emotions wherein the devil can easily latch onto. And the person, if he's traumatized, gets dissociated. He learns how to dissociate. Okay? And I will explain a little more in the following slides. When we say dissociation, because hindi makatakas halimbawa yung isang bata and he's sexually abused again and again, then he escaped through his mind. That's what we call dissociation. Parang nagka-trance na lang siya. It's almost a hypnotic trance state. That is why usually these children can easily get possessed kapag they are not helped. And they do not experience help from the church and from counselors. That's why I would like to quote Judith Herman. Traumatic events serve as powerful activators of the capacity of trance, for trance. Trance-altered states are similar to hypnotic trance states. These dissociative states are reached also through drugs. You can also reach this stage through yung mga bawat na gamot and sought after by occultists to enter in, to get in contact with the supernatural world. So gadgets and psychic states. Look at a child staring at a screen for a long time. He is basically in a trance state of the day. He is catatonic in front of the screen. This is a hypnotic passive state where the child is not only little by little becoming psychic, but he is very open to auto-suggestion and diabolical messages. Sabi niya, kung iniwan mo yung bata, and he's always accessing sites that are not for him, within 6 months, there will be already a change in their behaviors. More or less 6 months. Okay? The child becomes very open to suggestions because he's in a trance from worldly messages of consumerism, materialism, hedonism, and messages of hate and anger as well as triggers for depression and suicide. Research has shown that there is a blurring of reality. It is as though the child has taken a drug. He will not anymore know what is real and what is not real. That's why there are children who shoot their parents. And later on, you can ask them why. Pag medyo normal na sila, they will say, I thought that parang game lang to na I could always reload my initial my initial level. Kala niya ganyan yung buhay. What can be done when there is trauma? Inner healing, forgiveness, closing the third eye, because nabubuksan yan because of trauma. Exorcisms and prayers of liberation, the use of the sacramentals, pastoral counseling. Okay? So we use all the gifts the Lord has given us, both medical, psychological, and also spiritual. Make sure that there is always a spiritual dimension or else kulang yan. And of course, psychological interventions. The fourth opening is occultism. Is a theory and practice by invoking superhuman but not powers from God. According to them, itong mga occult practitioners, yung kanilang powers ay galing sa kanila. It is a power within them. They have this power. Okay, so automatically you can already sense the satanic spirit that they have a divine power within them, not because it is given to them by grace, but it is simply within them that they have this power that is inherent to them, not given to them. Or they can get this power from nature. They believe that nature has power and they can access it from the trees, from the earth. So magic and occult is a worldview that believes in the existence of occult powers that can affect human life and we can manipulate by rituals. This occult force is already denied by science. Okay, science has already said that there is no such thing as cosmic energy. And also divine revelation denies the reality of a cosmic energy. We believe in the Holy Spirit, but there is no cosmic energy in the universe. Wherein, if I learn to do certain rituals, I will gain a certain power or a certain thing from the universe. That I can attract these good things from the universe. So I am destroying the image of who God is. Therefore, any healing therapy or mind visualization technique that utilizes any kind of cosmic force or spiritual energy is wrong and dangerous. This is channeling and mediumship. Occult forces are always through the intervention and action of the fallen angels. Kaya nga sabi ni St. Paul, see to it that no one deceives you through any empty, seductive philosophy, of its philosophy based on cosmic powers rather than on Christ. It is a person who heals us, who liberates us, who gives us what we need. We don't need anyone else. God is enough for us. If you seek powers outside of God, then you are telling the Lord, Lord God, you are not enough. And that is very hurtful to our loving God. That's why sa ating katekismo, all practices of magic or sorcery by which one attempts to tame these occult powers are gravely contrary to the virtue of religion. Okay, now I will give some examples of occult specialists. Who are these people in the occult? And they enter into the picture kapag ikaw ay nangangailangan. The devil will make use of these vulnerabilities and we may say negative experiences sa ating buhay para makapasok sa ating buhay. For example, if you are grieving, nandun yung mga espiritista or mediums wherein they can now connect with your loved ones. Tapos sinasatian sila ng lolo mong namatay, tatay mong namatay. Okay? Or when you are sick, there are what we call the faith healers, albularyo, witch doctors, energy and psychic healers. Pag nababalisa ka, they are the fortune tellers, tarot card readers. So no one knows the future except God alone. The devil can have a notion of what may happen because, halimbawa, nakita niya na may yung taal, nakita niya na parang there is already some form of magma, okay? There's movement of the earth underneath taal, then he can give a fortune teller, okay? Isang manghuhula na Taal volcano will erupt next week. But the devil cannot know the future. Only God knows the future. Kaya nga, I was assigned in Quiapo before. There are 250 manghuhulas there. If you go back, they are still there. Wala pang tumatama sa loto. So you can see that they do not know the future. Okay? But it seems that they know the future. Because pag lumapit ka sa kanila, they will tell you something about your present life. No, ikaw punta ka States, no? Kasi nakitang demonyo na, you went to the US Embassy. Or ikaw, di ba, 3 anak mo, whatever. Because lang may 3 anak ka. So once you believe in them, because they know your present, immediately you put your future into their hands. Later on, yung buong buhay mo ay, okay, ginagabayan ka na ng isang occult practitioner. It's sad, no? We don't believe in divine providence and discernment. We have to go to these persons to guide us. We don't trust in God's love. Or you feel victimized, okay? Then you go to mambabarangs, mangkukulams, black magicians, witches. Or nalolonely ka, okay? So you go to sorcerers. That's why you see, instead of relying on God alone, the supernatural divine world, the occult attacks directly the first commandment by making Catholics go to the side of the kingdom of Satan. How do we know that these practitioners are not of God? I will just simply state from the book of Deuteronomy. When you come into the land that the Lord your God is giving you, you must not learn to imitate the abhorrent practices of these nations. No one shall be found among you who makes a son or daughter pass through fire, or who practices divination. Okay, ito yung mga feng shui masters. Okay? Or who is a soothsayer, itong mga hula. You can look it up in the Tagalog Bible. Or an ogre, nanambal, or sorcerer, okay, spiritista, or one who casts spells, or consults ito pala yung spiritista, or who consults ghosts or spirits, or 6 oracles from the dead. The sorcerer is the mambabarang, okay? He uses certain rituals and objects in order to cause an effect. Okay? And usually it is, the effect is always negative, usually negative, pag sorcerer. So yan yung mga mambabarang, mangkukulam. Okay? Deuteronomy 18, 9 to 12. Whoever does these things is abhorrent to the Lord. So it's very clear that these powers are not of the Lord. And maraming Pilipino pumupunta sa mga taong ito, and then their life becomes very miserable, and they blame God because they don't know that these are things that are not of the Lord. Because remember, the devil will not give you something negative. Harap-harapan bibigay sa iyo something na hindi maganda. Walang lalapit sa demonyo kapag yung ibibigay niya, babahagi niya, ay has no attraction to the person. That's why you will always try to enter into the picture trying to say that I am the one who can provide you these things, not God. You will not find it in your church. You will find it here in these other religions. Now, 9 out of 10 of our cases are due to occultism. You can be contaminated with the occult 3 ways: by direct involvement, lagi kang pupunta sa occult practitioner, or you practice it, ikaw mismo ay gumagawa nito. Being targeted by an occult practitioner, for example, through a love potion or curse, or having an ancestor who was an occult practitioner. Yung tatay mo ay albularyo, halimbawa, namatay na siya, yung spirito ay bababa ngayon sa'yo. That is why occultism is, like witchcraft, is passed down through the generations. The spirit will always go to the next line. Kaya usually, pag namatay na yung original na pangkukulam, usually the next in line gains the power. Regarding generational spirits that can go down the generations, we also have spirits of sin. As well as the occult can go down the generations. Father, bakit yung pamilya niya, puro mga, hiwala yung mga, pag nag-aasawa sila, within 2 years, hiwalay na sila. That could be a spirit of division and unfaithfulness, infidelity. Okay? There are spirits also of sin that can go down. I remember one case that we had, wherein the child, 2 years old pa lang, talagang she was really talagang very lascivious and seducing. She was adopted, and 2 years old pa lang, yung kanyang mga actuations ay very seductive. The way she would treat, or we may say, play with the stepfather would be very parang matandang, almost like a prostitute. So when we were interviewing, later on, we found out that the mother was a prostitute. So the spirit of lust went down to this young child. So that can happen, especially a person who has lived a very sinful life. The spirits of sin will go down to the next in line. So spiritual effects of syncretism, pag pinaghalo natin ang ating mga paganong paniniwala at gawain, what we have is what we call syncretism. Okay? We contaminate our faith with a false religion. Ang mangyayari dyan is that marami tayong pamahiin which causes us fear. Uy, bawal, wag mo gawin yan. Hindi mangyayari pag ginamama yan. It's always fear-based. It is never, and fear is always of the devil, never of God. Parang pagpapapicture ka, uy, depende tapo tayo kasi mamakaingit na. Okay? That's fear-based. Imagine why will God allow you to die just because ikaw yung nasa picture. Diba? That is not our God. Once you believe in these things and practice them, God's protection nawawala. And the devil can make real your fears. So you stop superstitious practices. They only give the devil more power over you. And therefore, the blessings of God that He wants to give you can be blocked because of these practices, because of these activities, because of these realities, and you become vulnerable to extraordinary demonic attacks. So some examples of the occult in the New Age na pupasok sa ating bansa: astral projection, astrology, automatic handwriting, amulets, channeling, crystal divination, crystal balls, fortune telling, past life regression, therapy, psychic development, silver mind control, Ouija board, spellcraft, spirit of the glass, spirit guides, spiritism, transcendental meditation, sciences, tarot cards, mediums, and Wicca. You can check this all in the. If you want to do research, there's a Vatican document, Jesus Christ, the bearer of the water of life. You can check this, no? Para makita nyo ito yung turo ng ating simbahan. Divination using rods, wands, or pendulums for finding water, treasures, spirit questing, psychic healing, Reiki, crystal healing, faith healing, pranic healing, energy healing, magnetic healing. Okay, so this is all channeling, using your body as a spirit to heal. Pyramid power, similar types of practices. Heavy metal music and death metal music, Freemasonry, and other secret cults like Scientology and the Kabbalah. So how does a person get possessed? Imagine nyo, elementary pa lang siya. His grandfather is a healer, spiritist. Yung father niya is isang mason. While he was growing up, he has a lot of blood rituals. Yung family practices, nag-aalay silang dugo sa kanilang ancestral spirit. Okay? May imaginary friend yung bata. Pagdating ng high school, okay, dumadami na yung mga spirito doon sa bahay. So na yung bata ay nakakita ng mga engkanto sa bahay. And the family has a lot of good luck statues. Pampaswerte sa loob ng bahay. Papadugo sila kapag sila ay regularly. Padugo is a consecration to evil spirits in nature. The child, pagdating ng college, nakakasakit na siya, oppression. He is therefore brought to healers, fortune tellers, and sorcerers. Pinapasot sa kanya mga agimat at mga anting-anting. Then, because medyo psychic na siya, yun na, nag-ghost hunting na siya. He tries to develop more his psychic abilities. Nagtatrabaho na siya, no confession, hindi na siya nagsisimba, wala na siyang grasya sa kanyang kaluluwa. He has no sacramentals. Dito, usually, possessed niya. Dito, oppression pa lang. Dito, obsession. So you can see the build-up of a person does not get possessed that easily. The spirits have to build up. Okay? That's why isang pray over does not automatically resolve the issue because the person has to deal with all of these openings. There is a need for confession and renouncement and change in lifestyle. We are not exorcists, are not magicians. It is Jesus who heals the person and liberates the person based on the person's choice and amendment of life. So what can be done? Renouncement of powers and spirits, confession, closing the third eye, prayers to cut unholy ties and diabolical consecrations, especially if the person has practiced, has been cursed, or has always been going to the occult practitioner. You have to cut the spirit that has now power over you because you have been going to the occult practitioner, yung spirito na nakakapit sa kanya, meron siyang karapatan sa buhay mo. Breaking of curses and spells, there are prayers against that, solemn and minor exorcisms, and prayers of liberation. Use of the sacramentals. Okay, infestation would mean paranormal occurrences. I discussed this already. So, signs of the diabolical in a house. Sabi nga natin, walang malas sa buhay ng isang Katoliko. And therefore, if you have generations of sin and bad luck sa isang pamilya, living in a home, that is a sign of diabolical infiltration. Blockages to God's blessing and grace the family. Father, nagdadasal naman kami. Bakit parang di na kami makaahon sa aming mga problema? There could be a diabolical block. Outbreak of paranormal and psychic phenomena. Father, maraming nakikitang yung aming mga kasambahay, marami sila nakikitang mga dark shadows. Okay? Mga anino. O inatake sila sa gabi. Or may mga mayroon silang mga narinig na wala namang dahilan kung bakit kakaroon ng ingay na yan. O may narinig silang mga boses. O tinatawag, Father, they hear my voice calling them, but I am not there at home. These are signs of diabolical infestation. Sufferings that are not processed anymore, they bring misery. Okay? Temptations that are very strong. Father, nung tumira na kami sa bahay na yan, bilang ang lakas ng mga tukso doon. Lagi kami nag-aaway, lagi may nakakasakit sa aming pamilya. Okay? It could be a haunted house. Father, nung lumipit kami sa tahanan, sa bahay na yan, we're always fighting, we're always sad. Okay? Isang anak ko, biglang depressed na, tried to commit suicide. Series of freak accidents beyond the normal series of difficulties. So these are signs that the diabolical has entered the home. Common openings, usually somebody committed suicide there or somebody was murdered there. You'd be dealing with spirits attracted and spirits left behind. Pag may isang taong namatay sa bahay, usually mga spirito na nakakapit sa kanya ay they are let loose in that room. That's why use sacramentals kapag may namatay na tao, may isang taong yumaho sa isang lugar, sa isang kwarto, use sacramentals. Because the spirits attached to him have nothing, have no soul anymore to attach to, no more body to attach to, they are let loose in the room. Okay? Especially, for example, in a certain area, isang tarang makasalanan na tao namatay dyan, the place can immediately become infested. Okay? Of course, may mga Ouija board, okay? So that attracts spirits. So, or maybe one of the one of the kids through the internet try to enter into occult sites or pornographic sites that can attract spirits into the home. My last case was a person, pamilya mismo, inatake sila ng incubus spirit na wala naman dati. I said, ask your son, what is he looking at in the internet? Then, Father, tama kayo, last week lang nagbukas siya ng pornographic sites. So, immediately the spirits entered and caused all of these problems. So, need for renouncement. Of course, he renounced doing that. Then, confession, then prayers to expel. Breaking of seals, that means you break the consecration that you did. Because whenever you ask help from the demon, he has a right over you that you have to break. Okay? Now, these are things that you have to really know because there is what we call physical laws and there are spiritual laws. We know, of course, the physical laws. Kapag tumalon ako dyan and there is gravity, baka talaga I will fall. But many don't know the spiritual laws. And that's why marami pumapasok sa mga problema na ganito. We know the devil exists, but we don't have a practical knowledge of the devil, of how he can enter into our lives. That's why, as I mentioned, many times we blame God for our difficulties, knowing that actually we are under attack. That's why we have to keep on learning about our faith, precisely because what you don't know will hurt you. Okay? What you don't know will hurt you. And that's from my experience throughout the years. Many of the people I pray over or become our cases didn't know that they were doing something. Some are, of course, talagang malicious, pero yung iba, hindi nila alam. So it's better to be forewarned. Prevention is more easier than you already possess. Okay, ask also if your children have imaginary friends. Usually, may kaibigan sila na sasabihin nila, imaginary friend lang yan. But actually, many of our cases is that these are not imaginary friends. These are real spirits. Especially kapag palaging iniiwan yung bata mag-isa. Need for renouncement. Usually the persons who get possessed, matanda na sila, pero yung spirito na kumapit sa kanila, nung bata pa sila, when they had this imaginary friend. Breaking of seals and holy ties with the spirits, then confession, and spiritual prayers of spiritual liberation. Was there something new added to the place, like an antique mirror, especially yung mga demonyo, mahilig sila sa malalaking mga antique mirrors. They love mirrors. I don't know why. When I do exorcisms of houses, usually doon sila nakakapit. Okay? Especially mga very huge ones. That's why we always seal and bless the mirrors. That's why mirrors have always been used by the occult, like witches. Kaya nga, di ba, mayroong mirror on the wall, di ba? That's how witches communicate with demons. Kasi, or it's a crystal ball. Basta may reflection, kahit tubig, basta may reflection, the spirits can easily more appear through these objects. So, check. If you bought something that is antique, then suddenly may mga paranormal na, then that means that it's usually attached to the object. So they could have evil spirits attached to them. There is a need for exorcising the objects in the occult, getting rid of them. Get rid of all of that. Okay? That is not our faith. Okay? This is from another religion. Okay? Once you as a Catholic make use of them, there is a contamination of our faith and there will be problems. Okay? We're Catholics, make use of the sacramentals, blessed images, blessed objects. Okay? Dapat klaro sa atin yan. Did any traumatic event occur recently within the vicinity? Physical violence, rape, gravely sinful activity, drug sessions, need for the sacrament of confession, and then use the prayers of liberation. Okay, this can really attract so many spirits. Extreme familial conflicts and emotional negativity. Pag palagi may nag-aaway dyan, usually, the house can become infested very quickly. Pero once nagkaroon ng, there's reconciliation, then the use of sacramentals, agad nawawala yung mga paranormal. Common areas of infestation, where do you put the sacramentals or use your holy water or exorcise salt? Rooms near old infested trees. If the tree is within your vicinity, you can have, and may mga tao na nakaka-sense na may engkanto doon or fallen angel in nature. Okay? That is attached to the tree. Then you can use, or medyo malakas, no? Tapos may mga patubo pa dyan. Then you can call your parish priest. You can do prayers of minor exorcism or prayers of spiritual liberation, bless the tree, and then put a St. Benedict's medal there that is blessed by a priest. of the tree. After the exorcism, then tell him to bless also the tree, because usually when the demons leave the tree, they will kill it. Okay? So have the tree blessed after exorcising it. But if the tree is in the other lot, then you have no spiritual authority over it. Okay? Just seal your wall, put Saint Benedict's medal on the wall, in order for the spirits, if there are spirits in the tree, they will not be able to enter into your home, because it is protected by the Lord. Okay? So remember, the front of the Saint Benedict's medal is the cross, not yung imahe ni Saint Benedict, it's the cross. That should be the one facing outward. Corner rooms are usually the most infested. Bathrooms and toilets, uninhabited rooms like storage areas and attics like bodegas. Put sacramentals there. Hallways and landings, usually doon palagi may naglalakad back and forth. Playrooms, I've exercised so many toys, children. So use also holy water over toys, especially mga figurines. Sometimes doon kumakapit yung mga spirits. Large mirrors, I mentioned already. Okay, now moving to, because there are usually questions about, Father, about wandering souls, okay? I will answer it very quickly. A demon can deceive men, sabi ni St. Thomas Aquinas, by some action from without. By his natural powers, he can fashion from the air a body of almost any form and shape. That means he can use what is around the atmosphere. Like for example, he can use the heat. So biglang lalamig yung lugar in order to appear. He can use electricity. Kaya biglang, once a demon is about to appear, usually yung ilaw ay nag-flicker. Kinukuha niya yung electricity. He's using the electricity there in order to appear. Usually kapag medyo sensitive kayo, tataas yung balahibo ninyo. You will sense the electrical current, right? That the devil is using now so that he will appear. Usually he will start to appear first as a small orb. Later on, lalaki yan. Until maging full-blown apparition na yan. So, St. Thomas Aquinas tells us, he can appear almost in any form and shape, and then assume it and appear visibly therein. That means he can appear to us. He can clothe or vest himself with material substances and thus appear in visible form. So the question is, Father, is there such a thing as wandering souls? That means souls who don't know that they are dead. Siguro na-aksidente sila, o hindi pa sila handa pumunta sa hukuman ng ating Panginoong Jesus. And therefore, they must be helped by a psychic to go to the light. Napatay ka na, kailangan na pumunta sa liwanag. Of course, our teaching, Catholic Church tells us there's no such thing as wandering souls. These are all demons. That's why I would like just to quote from the CCC, Catechism of the Catholic Church. The New Testament affirms that each will be rewarded immediately after death in accordance with his works and faith. And again, each man, CCC 10:22, each man receives his eternal retribution in his immortal soul at the very moment of his death in a particular judgment. So my dear brothers and sisters, at the very moment of death, immediately after death, we are taken now by our guardian angel and brought to the judgment seat of the Lord. We are immediately judged already. And when we die, the first being we usually see will be our guardian angel, because he will already have spiritual eyes. Makikita niya yung spiritual world. Dahil wala ka na, yung katawan mo ay maiiwan na. Or if you're devoted to Mama Mary, she will be the first one you will see. Okay? If you're devoted to Mama Mary, she's the first one you will see, and then your guardian angel. So, who do the saints see, or who do some people see? They can be actually, not all apparitions are diabolical with regards to souls, because there are what we call souls in purgatory, and they can appear to us sometimes, but rarely. They can only appear to us for two reasons: to console us. Di ba, halimbawa, the anniversary, the death anniversary, pwede silang paramdam, so we don't forget to pray for them, and they console us. And secondly, for prayers, sacrifices, indulgences, and masses we can offer for them. Those are the only two reasons that the Lord will allow them to appear to us: console us, or to ask for prayers. That's it. And if they appear to us, that means they're not yet in heaven. Okay? That means they're asking for prayers. Because if they appear to us at nasa langit na sila, that means that's an apparition of a saint. And the Lord will not allow, unless there's already a devotion to that person, the Lord desires that person becomes a saint, canonized as a saint, recognized by the church as a saint, then that's when He will allow the apparitions of that person to occur. And usually, kanino sila nagpapakita? To the saints, because they can pray for them, napakatindi ng kanilang panalangin. Those who can offer them suffrages, like mga pare, because we can offer mass for them. Or their loved ones who can recognize them. So for example, may nagpapakita sa inyo and you don't recognize the person, okay, be very worried already. They only appear usually to, or nagpaparamdam lamang sila sa mga tao, kilala nila. So you pray for them. Especially yung iba na, Father, hindi ko siguro pinagdasal kasi sinasakal ako sa gabi. That's not a soul in purgatory. Diba? Sinasaktan ka na kasi hindi daw siya pinagdadasal. Elementals, yung mga engkanto natin. Okay. So usually they're only seen by psychics and they're attached to nature. Usually mga ilog natin, mga malalaking puno, okay? Mga bundok. And our pagan ancestors had no defense against them. That's why we know yung saying tabi-tabi po, di ba? Kasi yung ating mga ninuno, they would be harassed by the spirits because they are very territorial. And unless you offer some form of worship or submission, then papayagin kang dumaan. Pag hindi, sasaktan ka. That's why yung mga, usually when they are, bakit may patubo habang halimbawa, papakuha ng bahay, papadugo yung mga tao. Because that is a pagan practice. Because if you don't offer worship to these demons, they will cause problems in the construction of the house. They don't know by doing that, they're already consecrating their homes to the evil spirits. That's why usually the homes become problematic. Yung mga titira doon have become problematic. Kahit pumunta dyan yung para i-bless, wala nang saysayan. Because it has been consecrated already prior to that, to the evil spirits. Especially when you offer blood, di ba? The Old Testament, sinumang tipan, very clear. That is automatically idolatrous. Automatically, that is worshiping a fallen angel. And therefore, God removes His protection from that home or that house. That's why nature spirits or encantos, later on, they became the spirits of yung mga barangay. We call them ancestral or tribal deities. And they became later on the idols and gods of the nations in paganism. Yung Greek gods, the Roman gods, the Babylonian gods, the Persian gods, okay, they started off as elementals. But because man saw their power, little by little, they started to worship them, submit themselves to them, and use them to get something in return. They offer rituals para meron silang makuha. That's why sabi ni St. Augustine, evil spirits are deceivers, not by nature but by malice. They make themselves gods and souls of the departed, but they do not make themselves devils, for they really are so. So, in the spirit world, there are the angels, the good, the fallen angels, who can appear as elementals, wandering souls, and pagan deities. There is man, tayo, alive on earth, the church militant, mga nasa langit, mga santo, purgatory, the suffering souls, and in hell, the damned souls. These are the only beings in the spiritual world. And sabi ni Father Gabriel Amorth, okay, regarding those who believe in wandering souls, there are no good spirits other than angels, there are no evil spirits other than demons. Okay, these are some of the prayers that we can use. For lay religious priests and exorcists, we use prayers of liberation or deliverance prayers. For priests and exorcists, minor exorcisms. An example is, okay, when the priest baptizes a child, before he baptizes, he exorcises a child. Okay? Sadly, this exorcism prayer has become sometimes optional. So make sure that the priest prays the exorcism prayer before the baptism. Because as I mentioned, the demons can go down the family line at pwede kumapit sa bata, sa katawan ng bata. That's why that is part of the ritual of the rite of baptism, is the exorcism of the child and then the baptism of the child. Major exorcisms or solemn exorcisms can only be done by exorcists. Okay. So sabi ni St. Alphonsus, private exorcism is permissible to all Christians. Solemn exorcism is permissible only to ministers who are appointed to it. Okay, so have always prayers of protection Pray regularly prayers of protection and liberation because we are in a spiritual war. So protect yourselves and pray prayers that will expel spirits because they are around us. Kaya have on hand a manual of prayers of liberation regularly. Okay? So a simple prayer of liberation that you can use in the name of Jesus Christ. I command you, evil spirit, na pinagumod ka, gumising ka. I command you, evil spirit, harassing me. I command you to depart. And I command you to go to the foot of the cross. That means I command you to go to Jesus. Bahala na siya kung saan ka ipapadala. And then, Lord, fill now the empty spaces left by the spirits. So you can use a crucifix when you do that. The prayer or holy water around the place. Okay? So make sure you send them to the foot of the cross. Okay? Or else, you just command it to depart, baka pumunta sa biyenan ninyo. It will just go anywhere. Right? Sacramentals, holy water. Okay? Sabi Saint Faustina, holy water is indeed of great help to the dying. Sabi na natin. Sabi Saint Francis de Sales, the devil flies from a drop of holy water. Exorcise oil can use on the body or forehead of a person, or the four corners of a room, or like a large antique mirror. Lord, I ask you to cover this mirror with your blood so that no evil spirits may use it to communicate or manifest to my family. Exorcise salt can be used for sealing the boundaries of the room. It can also be ingested. Saint Benedict's medal, the devil busting medal. It is known as the devil busting medal. Sabi ni Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich, is a preventive against poison, pestilence, okay, the pandemic, COVID, sorcery, and the attacks of the devil against barang and fulang. So this is, the following sacramentals are effective for allocation. Blessed candles in the room, and Saint Benedict's medals on doorways, windows, and the four corners of a room. The greatest weapons, of course, and the greatest armor is always be in the state of grace. Make sure that the Holy Spirit is always in your soul. That is the greatest defense. And the greatest weapon is always growing in the virtues. Kahit ina-atake ka ng demonyo, if he sees that you're becoming more humble, more charitable, more trusting, more confident in God, then you will see he will stop the attack because nakikita niya, imbes na bumabagsak ka, imbes na nasisira ang spiritual na buhay mo, nagiging banal ka pa. Okay? So when the devil tempts you with something, attack with the contrary virtue. If he's attacking you, tempting you to lose your temper, then attack with the virtue of meekness and gentleness. Now the final battle with the Lord and the reign of Satan will be about marriage and the family. Sabi ni Jocis Syquia. So, okay ba kayo? I just want to finish and guard the family. Or baka yung kumukulo na yung baka later on, matrans na kayo dyan. Okay. So I want to give some tips on securing our Catholic homes against spiritual terrorists or the demons. The home is the first solid defense decreed by God. We see this in the Holy Family where Jesus was protected by Saint Joseph and Mama Mary. That's why I say, sabi St. John Paul II, the family has the mission to guard, reveal, and communicate love. It is called the domestic church, where God is worshipped and love, and holiness is the goal of all the members. Let those, therefore, with spiritual authority, imam magulang, over the home, use the sacramentals regularly over the family members in the house. Like using the holy water once a month over the house, and blessing the children with exorcise oil, making the sign of the cross. May the Lord protect you and liberate you from all evil spirits, especially pag pinapagamot sa gabi yung bata. Ay magugulat kayo how effective that is because you have a spiritual authority over your children. It is given through the sacrament of matrimony. The spiritual authority of parents is given, that power is given to you during the sacrament of matrimony, holy matrimony. Just as priest is given spiritual power over the flock during ordination, the spiritual authority and power of parents are given to them during the sacrament of holy matrimony. Therefore, have faith in the power that you have. We have cases where I remember one of my first cases na possessed, the mother just simply kept on blessing the child and biglang boom, afterwards, the child was freed. We didn't anymore need to exorcise the child. The parents use the sacramentals over the children in the house, holy water and blessed oil for the house. You may add exorcise salt always add a prayer for faith. Lord, as I throw this soul, bless and cleanse this place from all evil spirits. So always add a prayer because the sacramentals give their efficacy. Yung kanilang bisa ay galing sa panalangin. A prayer of faith. The right of parents over their children is not a right of lordship, but the right to safeguard them and develop the seeds of holiness in them. That's the only reason the Lord has given them to you, produce future saints in heaven. Now there is this vision of Venerable Mary of Agreda, why we also have to pray for the unborn children. Okay, this was a vision given to this saint after the devil and his followers were defeated by Christ on the cross. Ito yung book na maganda, no? City of God. The demons, sabi niya, were gathered together creating a strategy. How do we destroy the family? And demons assigned themselves to different tactics. Some charged themselves with perverting the inclination of children at their conception and birth. Perverting their inclination, their emotional life, of who they should be or who they are. So the demons have this power. Others to induce parents to be negligent in the education and instruction of their children, and to cause a hatred of parents among the children, to create hatred between husbands and wives. So there are demons that are actually experts in or they specialize in these types of problems. Always maintain, therefore, unity as a family. The devil particularly hates unity. Okay? Division is a sign that a family has already been infiltrated. Because the devil's number one tactic is he divides before he conquers. He isolates a person, then he subjugates them. That's why yung mga cases namin na talagang possessed, suicidal, we always notice that the person has no more support systems. He has been isolated by the devil, especially from the family. Just see, the more divided the family, the more one sees the presence of all the vices and all sorts of evil. The more dysfunctional, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually the family is, the more divided it is. So I pray to the Holy Spirit to unite you as a family. So go as a family to the sacraments, pray together. Unity is not simply the absence of conflict, but the proper ordering of priority towards a single purpose. Di yung, wala akong pakialam sa'yo, okay? Matanda ka na. That is not unity. That is not peace. The family, therefore, has to be united in one mind and heart of what is important and essential in life, and together live it out. The family becomes like an army difficult to defeat because of its united front. Another important point, parents praying for their children, and children praying for their parents, especially mga bata kapag sila yung nagdasal para sa kanilang mga magulang o kapatid. The younger the child who is praying, the more powerful the prayer. Because God looks at the innocence of the child, the purity of the child, the sincerity of the child. If you want to discover miracles, experience miracles in your family, ask those youngest to pray for you. Parents must speak to their children about God's reality in their lives so that the faith becomes real to the children and not simply a family tradition that they will reject pag medyo tumanda na sila. Therefore, in family gatherings, you can ask this question: do you speak about Jesus and Jesus as a real person? Why are there so many young people who leave the faith pag medyo tumanda na sila, na-college na sila? It's because Jesus was never a real person to them. They have to see that the parents themselves manifest to them that Jesus is real. That Jesus, they see the parents relating with Jesus in a real personal manner. When out as a family, do you witness your faith in public? Or for example, magdadasal na kayo, napakalit ng cross. Bless us, O Lord, hindi parang makakita sa atin. Okay? Or when you pray your rosary, nakakago, no? Para no one can see that you are praying the rosary. Okay? We need more witnesses today. If there are special needs in the family, at least have two members of the family praying physically together for another member at the same time. Where two or three are gathered praying for the same thing, it will be granted. Jesus is present. Learning to offer God communal sacrifices and penances as a family, so the family as a whole receives God's blessings and graces. And the family members are formed together, offering, for example, a certain day for abstinence, Lord, we offer this to you for love of you, for the conversion of sinners, poor souls in purgatory. Okay, so the entire family experiences the graces, not just one member of the family. During doing charitable works of mercy as a family, both the spiritual and the corporal, we are careful that our family does not become narcissistic, tayo-tayo lang, bahala na yung iba. Dapat our family itself is a charitable, we may say, living being. It is not closed in on itself, in selfishness. Be part of a Catholic community, especially today, to create a Christian culture in and around the family, or the spirit of the world subtly and slowly will influence the family's culture and make it pagan. Why do many families become dysfunctional? Because they don't have a support group. Just like kapag tayo ay na-isolate as a person, the devil can work more easily on me. But if families are gathered and they share their faith and support each other, always comforting, consoling, guiding one another, then you will be protected from the spirit of the world around us. As we see materialism, secularism, atheism, and paganism grow around us, we have to create small havens of grace in our families. We have to establish religious fellowships and communities with other families. Like monastic communities in the Dark Ages or Christian households during the pagan Roman Empire, where what is true, good, beautiful, holy, and eternal continues to be lived out and be passed on to the next generations. Have a real devotion to the saints and the angels. God desires that the communion of saints be real in our lives. We are not supposed to fight alone. Have a devotion to the angels because sila mismo ang unang nakipaglaban sa mga demonyo at sila ang unang nagtagumpay sa gera, sa digmaan against these fallen angels. And therefore, let them be part of the spiritual war that is going on now in our world. Make sure that you have a devotion to them because they respect your freedom. If you don't have a devotion to them, they can only do minimal. What is minimal? They need your assent. The first saint, of course, is Mama Mary. Sabi nga ni Maximilian Kolbe, Saint Maximilian Kolbe, that Immaculata, Mama Mary alone, has from God the promise of victory over Satan. If we're close to Mama Mary, we will be always protected from the evil one because victory will start from her against the fallen angels. The second most powerful saint in heaven is Saint Joseph. He is called also the terror of demons. He was the one who protected the Holy Family and will also protect our families if we invite him into our homes. That's why we have what we call the Saint Joseph's Cord. Family members in bondage to lust are recommended to use this St. Joseph's Cord. Very, very powerful. Okay? I have so many testimonies regarding this cord. Persons who were deeply into the addiction and vice of lust. Okay? Kasalanan. Okay? Ng laman, they were able to overcome it. When you're fighting a spiritual war, you need spiritual weapons. Have a devotion to the angels. See the angels assisting Jesus, humanity, after it had been tried by diabolic attacks in the desert and in the Garden of Gethsemane. If Jesus himself needed the angels, then we need the angels. Saint Michael for diabolical attacks. Saint Raphael if you need healing and against lust. He fought Asmodeus, the demon of lust. Saint Gabriel for being better witnesses and evangelizers. Of course, also our guardian angels. Know your catechism now more than ever. Know what is right and what is wrong. Know the stand of the church and be faithful and obedient, for many in the latter days will be led astray. Be critical and discerning always, praying to the Holy Spirit for guidance, because many people decide on their own without discerning and then blame God if the outcome is not good. Be very watchful of this opening to the diabolical, highly charged negative emotions. I mentioned this already, especially hatred and anger and unforgiveness. When there is interpersonal conflict, immediately, as I mentioned, use the sacramentals and pray to your guardian angel to dislodge any spirits that may have been attracted. Guard your emotional life. Check your thought life, especially when the devil puts thoughts there. Then you think it's coming from you when actually it's coming from the devil. Okay? Because sometimes naisip natin galing sa ating sarili. Well, actually, it's a diabolical thought placed there by the devil. So we have to be able to renounce that immediately. Remove all dissensions and strife from the home. Family devotions that find meaning for you as a family. Devotion to the divine mercy, the chaplain, etc. Don't forget to develop the conscience of the young. What is right and wrong in the eyes of God, because we will not be judged by the world. We will be judged by Christ. When it comes to the world, promote, bombard the value system of God, especially to the young, when it comes to dealing with the world and what it offers. Okay, practice asceticism, okay, mortification. Sabi nga ni Mama Mary, Our Lady of Fatima said, sacrifice yourself for sinners. And so many times, especially when you make some sacrifice. Oh Jesus, it is for love of you, for the conversion of sinners, and in reparation for sins committed against the Immaculate Heart of Mary. So when you offer sacrifices or you're carrying a heavy cross, don't waste it. There is no such thing as a meaningless suffering if we are Catholics. No indulgences. If you can buy this handbook, because alam natin the indulgences will remove your time in purgatory. There's very short prayers to our guardian angel, and also to Mama Mary, which give partial indulgences. Sabi ni Matt, I remember a story of Saint Teresa of Avila, sabi niya, Lord, why did that sister, who is simply not a very religious sister, but when she went up immediately to heaven? Because she has used well indulgences. Okay, so this is a very important aspect that we have again to bring into our lives. This is part of the mercy that God is giving us. Gregorian music played regularly in the home, sacred sound. The devil hates Latin. Ayaw niya yung Latin language. So when we pray in Latin, talaga nawawala yung demonya. When you pray, light a blessed candle to drive away distracting spirits and creating a sacred space. As the exercise bell creates a sacred sound, there's also an exercise bell. The candle creates a sacred smell like incense. Exorcism bell can be used for emergencies. Pag hinaharas ka, you just have a small bell, you can ring it and say, evil spirits, I command you to leave. Blessing of animals, don't forget to bless your animals because they can also be harassed. Make sure all rooms have sacramentals. They're all blessed by a priest. The devil is not afraid of a holy image if it is not sacred. Make sure everyone has a blessed object on his scapulars in Benedict's medal, etc. These medals manifest who we belong to and whose authority we are under. The demons see this and tremble. Okay. Pope Benedict XVI tells us in Spes Salvi that certain forms of technological innovation can open up a palette of possibilities for evil that formerly did not exist. This is the social media. Okay, so I'll just say a few words. There was this exorcist, Father Shopi, a Jesuit, was exorcising a demoniac, and he asked the demon, what pains you most in hell? Sabi ng demonyo, an eternal rage, galit na kapuotan talaga, and a frightful despair. And that is what the devil now is creating in our society with the social media. Hatred and despair, which are special tastes and signs of the diabolical. The social media is now the number one means that spread hatred, creating rudeness and anger, and despair, loneliness, depression, and suicide. And studies have consistently shown this. That's why the church has said we should not only journey with the young physically, we also have to journey with them in the virtual world, not only the physical world today. The social media also causes narcissism, addiction to oneself, pride, the number one sin of the devil, and also isolation, which makes the person vulnerable to diabolical impulses and thoughts. When the devil removes the person, usually mga cases namin, suddenly when the person is all alone, he starts to hear voices. And the more he isolates himself, and then the person falls into depression. Remember, the devil is the most lonely being cut off from all that is love. So my last points, sabi St. John Paul II, family become what you are. He says it devolves on parents to create a family atmosphere so animated with love and reverence for God. Sabi ni John Paul II, the Father relieves on earth the very fatherhood of God. The place and task of the Father in and for the family is of unique and irreplaceable importance. The seminary, I've been assigned to the seminary for almost 19 years. And usually the major issues of the seminarians is they did have a father. Whether umalis yung father, hiwalay, or nasa abroad, whatever. And this causes a lot of dysfunction in them. It's very hard for them even to pray to God the Father because their concept of Father is negative. Negative. They cannot trust God the Father. Kaya kami, when they say Father, immediately connotation of abandonment, they transfer it to even kami mga pare, what they call as Father. Some say, Pope Paul VI, mothers, will you teach your children the Christian prayers? Do you encourage to be the father, be fast, the sort start in a higher level. They don't have to repeat our mistakes. They can start in a higher level in the world because they don't have to experience the mistakes that we experience. Therefore, they should be more holy and more mature than us because of our sharing of the wisdom that we gain through our years. Our Lady of Lazaret therefore tells us, fight, children of light. You who can see, for now is the time of all times, the end of all ends. If you are at war with the devil, you are at peace with God. So if you're fighting the devil in your home, remember, the devil attacks you, that means you are the friend of God. Okay? The devil, sabi ng mga saints, is taking it easy with you. Okay? He's not harassing you, that means he is your friend. Okay? So be very aware that even if you're under attack, that is a good sign. I always tell my team that pag hinaharas kami, bago sa isang kaso, especially yung isang grabing kaso, I say that's a good sign. The devil is therefore threatened. He doesn't retaliate or harass if we are not about to expel him. Amen. Maraming salamat po for your time and your patience.
To make his message known is our response.
So ayan po mga peers, sanay kapupulatan po natin ito ng aral. At kung nagustuhan niyo po ito, please like and share, ibahagi po natin sa mga kakilala po natin. And please don't forget to follow and subscribe po ng ating YouTube channel, Mr. Curious Catholic. Muli po, this is Mr. Curious Catholic, kasama po ninyo sa pagtatanggol ng ating simbahan. Pro Deo et Ecclesia. Sa Diyos po ang lahat ng kapurian.
Hello mga kapatid, follow and subscribe Mr. Curious Catholic. Marami tayong matutunan, mapupuno po yung ating isipan sa mga katotohanan. Dahil ang katotohanan na magbigay sa atin ng tunay na kalayaan. God bless.
Hello mga kapatid, inanyayahan namin kayo, huwag niyong kalimutan mag-subscribe sa kay Bro Dance Oberio, Mr. Curious Catholic. Marami kayong matutunan sa pamamagitan ng pagsubaybay niyan sa pagsagot sa pananampalataya na inaatake ng ating mga kapatid sa iba. Yung pananampalataya, and they are not only attacking the teachings of the Catholic Church, but proselytizing the good numbers of the Catholic. At sa pamamagitan sa pagsunutin niyo nitong Mr. Curious Catholic, Facebook page and YouTube channel, dami ninyong matutunan. Isabuhay natin ang ating matuto. Pro Deo et Ecclesia.